Hello and welcome to this episode 8 of the Excaliburr podcast, hosted by me, Kyle Brooks, the founder, and we've got Connor Creech over here.
Hello, hello. Actually, you might say that I'm the host.
Yeah, there we go. We've changed up the roles today.
Changed up the roles. We definitely want to delve a little bit more into your story, your discipline, your daily practices, to just get more of an idea of who Kyle Brooks is,
For sure.
what makes you you, and how can we aspire to elevate our lives in other ways. So,
100%. Yeah. I think, where do you want to start? That's a good question, right?
I think we should start with your day. I want to know how your day breaks down. What do you do? How you get it done, and what different things do you do that sets you apart from a previous version of you? What have you done to elevate yourself?
Okay. I think when I started, the first thing that I started with originally was waking up at a specific time every single day. For me, back in Cape Town, that was at 6 a.m. Woke up, immediately got out of bed, went through and took a walk. And at this stage, I was listening to things like Earl Nightingale and Brian Tracy, just to kind of get my mindset right. Now, however, it's a little bit earlier. So I'm doing 5:30 in the morning, waking up, doing a bit of a meditation or breath work. So it will be either meditation or breath work or both some days, depending on how much you actually need for that day. Because when you're going through the day, when you're waking up in the morning, you have to kind of plan your day and kind of figure out where it is and how it is going to be shaped, because you're the creator of your own reality and you're shaping that as you go through. So wake up at 5:30, meditation, breath work, and then hit the gym. The purpose for that is my anchor. That kind of anchors me for the rest of the day. And in every single day, that allows me to have a specific time that is based just for me. I find that from my perspective, that it's kind of like when you're on a plane and they give you the airplane safety briefing. When the oxygen mask drops, who do they tell you to put the oxygen mask on first?
Yourself, of course.
Why is that?
Because you can't help others unless you're helping yourself.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So me putting the oxygen mask on first is my meditation and my breath work and then working out. It centers me for the rest of the day, but it also gives me a task of accomplishment. And you build up that confidence by building up those little victories.
Yep.
And it's one of the things that we based in the actual Excaliburr app.
Absolutely.
Is it sets the task out for you. It shows you exactly how you're supposed to shape your day. And obviously making my bed is one of the things, but sometimes I just make my side because my wife's still in bed. She's not waking up at 5:30 in the morning.
Still getting something done, though.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I notice myself with when it comes to the gym, breathwork, and meditation, like you said, it's an anchor. And I can tell when I've gone an extended period of time without it, because things start to slowly slip. Like I start to feel more insecurity, more emotional, less grounded in reality,
Yes.
and less grounded in the objective reality and things I want to get done. So I know it's a huge part with me, and I can always tell the adverse effects without it, which is crazy to think, because when I was younger and didn't have the gym in my life, didn't have breath work, didn't have prayer, didn't have meditation, I never noticed those differences because I hadn't elevated myself to another place where I raised my standards essentially. And of course, there's the flip side of the coin, because now that my standards are raised, when I don't meet those standards, I start to feel that adversely in my own life.
Precisely. So, you don't know what you don't know, right? But once you understand what you don't know, then you're aware of it. And that awareness is what creates a drastic change.
Yeah.
For me, it's what a lot of people are missing, right? Because they don't understand that if they implement these small refinements of what they're doing, they'll get big motivation to do different changes and create better circumstances in their life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So apart from the gym, the prayer, the meditation, and the breathing, obviously you have your own 9-to-5 job. I know you travel a lot with work. You oversee a bunch of people. How do you manage all this extra stuff with the stuff you quote unquote have to do?
Harmoniously, right? For me, it's kind of being the symphony conductor. You're not going to have every aspect of your life in perfect balance, because balance implies stress to me. So rather, I'll say, this particular aspect, I'm going to focus this amount of time on. And I use this principle called it's not the Pareto principle, it's the Pomodoro principle, which is 25-minute segments. You break your day into it, and I actually have a timer that I'll hit 25 minutes, and I'll focus solely on that particular task for 25 minutes. Then I'll take a 5-minute break, come back to it with a new mindset, and this allows you to be able to get massive results in a short span of time, because with that 25 minutes, there's no distractions. You're 100% focused on one thing. And a lot of people don't do that anymore, right? It's something that perturbs me, because there was a stat that if you take a break from the particular task that you're on and coming back to that, you lose 15 minutes. So now you imagine the average workday is 8-9 hours. If someone breaks 10 times, they've lost over 2 hours just from taking those breaks. That's not counting your lunch break and your smoke breaks and your pee breaks and all the rest of it. So your average workday is now probably 4 hours, and by not being able to add that value, people have to go home and work. Or they get into a rut where they're not performing well enough and they get put on a performance improvement plan or something along those lines. But if you had to just single-mindedly focus on the most important tasks, you'll get where you want to go to.
Yeah, it's very important, especially these days with the attention span and the dopamine rushes we get. A lot of people suffer from being able to concentrate on a particular task, even just 25 minutes at a time, but it's still breaking it down into those smaller steps to make it more manageable. Because then I'll think of my work shift when I work my 9-to-5 job. I'll go into it, and if I think about, I got to be here for another 8 hours, I got to be here for another 7 hours, I got to be here for another 6 hours, and just counting the hours of the whole task, it gets overwhelming at times.
Yep.
And not necessarily that it's overwhelming, I just notice that I'm more focusing on the negative and the bad side as opposed to being more in the present moment. Because every time I'm in the present moment, once it goes back to productivity, I'm much more productive.
Yeah.
But it's easy to slip out of those cycles. So what is something that you do when you catch yourself slipping?
When I catch myself slipping, So are you talking about just at work or in general?
In general and overall.
It's a review. It's a review process that I'll do on a daily basis. So at the end of the day, I'll review how I've done. And if that is not 1% better than I've done the day before, I will detract things from my life. So, you don't get to do that extra 30 minutes of TV today. Or you don't get a particular snack that I like. I like these trail mixes with little chocolate things in it. So you deprive yourself of these prizes, but you can also create a prize. So the stick and the carrot. And unfortunately, that's how my mind works, right? I need to have both of those motivational factors. You got to have the wolf nipping at your ankles, but you also have to have a piece of steak ahead of you. And you were talking about date days. Sometimes I restrict the amount of date days that I have, and unfortunately, sometimes that doesn't work very well with the wife. But it creates a motivation for you wanting to do something.
Yeah.
Discipline comes into factor, right? Discipline trumps motivation 100% out of 100%. But how can you emotively also create a environment that is going to pull you towards it, not just have you pushing yourself all the time? Because that's a daunting task, right? I do slip. I'm not perfect. That's like some days I won't wake up at 5:30, and then that's a creation of a snowball creation where you have, oh man, now I have to do this, and I don't have the time for myself because you have to sacrifice certain things. Being in that situation, you realize, oh man, that is not a clear indication of how I would like my life to be. That said, though, sometimes you actually do need a rest day. You do need to take a break and remove yourself from that routine and take a step back so you can see the whole picture. So there's, like I said, it's harmoniously activating things. Like, for example, last week, what happened? I was in Chicago. Well, this week I was in Chicago, right? The weekend we were up in Memphis. We did a Death by 5K. That was, for those that don't know what a Death by 5K, it is extremely difficult. It is running 5 kilometers every 2.5 hours for 24 hours. And during that process, if you make it back within half an hour, that means you have 2 hours to have a break. But if you make it back in an hour, now you only have an hour and a half. And those kind of get to you. And running through the night in the terrain that there was exceptionally difficult. And even then, my mind is like, oh man, towards the 7th, the 8th time, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, because your body gets sore, you start to ache. And it's exactly the same like life, right? You get to the point just before the finish line, and it's just before the finish line when you're about to get these amazing results that most people give up.
Yep.
And I was like, nah, I'm not gonna fall into that category. That is not who I am. I'll push through. But also what kind of got to me was that because I do 110%, I give 10% more than expected, I actually did a 55K. So I did 55 kilometers instead of the 50, which meant that I was ahead of the game. But also that plays on your mind. I've already done it. I've already done the 50K. I'm already 100% up there. And that was having to hold me back a little bit.
Yeah. I know it was your competitive nature that had to say, oh, we only did 50K. I did 55.
Exactly. No, it's competitive against yourself, right? Because how you do, I've said this before, how you do anything is how you do everything. And I want to believe that I'm the person that always gives 110% value. And once you make that your standard, that transforms your entire life. When you're adding more value than you're taking from for your company, for example, they start to see you in a different light. You start to get recognized. And it's not about the recognition per se. It's just about who you are. And when that transpires into other avenues, now all of a sudden, guys are vying to have you in their team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it also goes back to the service side, the service work of getting outside of yourself. Obviously, you can look at it in that frame, but you can also expand it out, that you'll start to view yourself in a higher light, whether it be consciously or subconsciously. Mm-hmm. When you start giving that 110%, when you start taking yourself outside of yourself, especially when it comes with helping others. That's why we also try to motivate our clients to get out and volunteer. Hey, get outside of yourself. Go help somebody else, because when you're helping somebody else, you're not focusing on the stick behind you, the line behind you. You're just trying to focus on not even the carrot in front of you, somebody else. You're giving somebody else the carrot, metaphorically speaking.
For sure.
Which will, of course, subconsciously make you feel more proud of yourself. And that's what Excaliburr is all about, is trying to bring men to the next level and make them feel proud about themselves, make them feel confident, make them in shape. It's a very holistic view. It's not just the workout program. It's not just the diet. There's so many more parts to it. Yeah. Exactly. Many more avenues, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, we've got our mission statement and our why. And I think our why is right over there somewhere. It says that everything we do, we believe in connecting people or men to their purpose. We think differently. How? We connect men to their purpose by making our program systematically designed, easy to use, and simple to integrate. Right? So that's our how and our why together. And we start with why in everything we do. Because if you had to start with what, you're just simply selling a product. And I don't believe in that. And neither do you. You want to be able to, you're not here to make a living. You're here to make a difference.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're emulating, and we're trying to push. Well, we don't try, we do. We're pushing in that influence into our community and into our brothers that are in the Excaliburr program. You've got an amazing idea where we're going to be running a competition for the most community service hours that we're going to run pretty soon.
One of the many competitions we have. That's one of the 3-month extended competitions where we're letting all our brothers choose whatever volunteer service they want to do and document it. And after 3 months, we say, hey, who did the most service work? But not only that, is we also have our guys write about the service work that they did. Hey, what did you do? Did you learn any lessons? How did you feel afterwards? How did you feel before? and making it so that not only are they doing it just to do it, but they're also trying to figure out the value in it and finding the value for themselves.
Right.
It's just a little bit of encouragement to push them to the next level.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to touch on as well is we make Excaliburr simple and straightforward. And I know the reason we both wanted to get that done was because we both saw ourselves before we started elevating and starting to find our purpose and seek our purpose. I know for me personally, back in the day when I was lazy, I barely worked a job, I could barely keep a stable relationship, I felt so poorly and felt so lost that I wish I had those small steps and those small guidances to get to the next level, because it just felt so lost. I had to navigate this all on my own. And then I say that, but I also met many great people that helped me along the way. So Excaliburr isn't, oh, by happenstance, I found a sponsor that helped me.
Yeah.
We have a direct program where you get connected with individuals who have gone through struggles, who have gone through rough times and overcame them. So going into the next level, not holding their hands, but being able to say, oh, that's what he did. How did he do it? How did it affect him?
Yeah.
And then moving forward from there.
You emulate, not greatness, but you emulate ways and to create solutions. But also, when you're in a hole, the people that have been there can look at it and be like, okay, well, you can navigate it this way. Or if you're really deep in that hole, we will jump in there with you, give you a kip up and help you out, right? And that's to me, that's one of the best things about having a supportive community. It's understanding that you're not in this alone.
Yes.
Right? You have the ability to go pick up the phone and call me at 12 a.m. in the morning. Hey, dude, like I'm really having a hard time right now. Okay, what are the steps that you're taking to get from where you are to where you want to be? Because we don't really talk about getting in our feelings, right? We know that men are emotional beings, but the emotion, feeling that emotion, is okay to feel it for a very specific amount of time, and then decide where it is that you want to go. Because you're going to create the reality that you are basing. And if you think about that all the time, replaying that scenario, what's that going to help you? Is it going to get shit done? No. It's not going to help you with any other thing besides reviewing it. So if you can divorce the emotion from it, look at it from a logical point of view and say, okay, well, I messed up here. I didn't act the right way here. And this is what I could have done better. Okay, boom. That's your action plan for next time that happens. But let's move on to the next iteration or the next move forward. Because life, if you look at the past and if you live there, that's suffering. If you look at the future and you worry about that, that's worrying. But if you live in the present, it's a present.
Yep. If I've got one foot in yesterday and one foot in tomorrow, the only thing I can do is shit on today.
Right, exactly.
But another thing on that point of taking emotion out of it, another great part of the brotherhood is I can be going through a situation that I get emotional over, whether it be with my wife, whether it be with my family, whether it be with anything. And then I can go to one of our brothers and speak with them and say, hey, I'm going through this. Mm-hmm. They will have the outside perspective divorced from the emotion.
Yes.
So then I remember one time I hit you up because I was having trouble at work and I was starting to get frustrated with some of my employees, and it was just bothering the hell out of me to the point where I couldn't think straight. Mm-hmm. Called you, we talked for 45 minutes straight, and you put it into a perspective divorced from the emotion. So then I heard this way, and then I was able to trek forward from a more grounded, reasonable perspective.
Yeah, you have the answers already. It's the only thing that you require is some guidance to pull you back to where it is that you know that you have the correct answers. It's like all the powers are already there, but the external factors somehow affected your emotional being or state, and that's created a what do they call it? Disturbance in where it is that you or how you're reacting. So we brought you back to where you were supposed to be, and you handled that situation beautifully.
Yeah, it seemed at the time like it was such a large beast. Mm-hmm. It was consuming a lot of my mental capacity.
Yeah.
And now I look back at the situation, know how I acted, knew the results of that situation, I'm in a much better place.
For sure.
Solely because in the moment, I wanted to call up the guys, bitch them out. I wanted to do all these drastic measures just to ease the anger and the frustration. But at the time, if I'd done that, I would have burnt bridges. I would have made things much worse. But now I can look back at the situation, I'm like, that really was no big deal. I can't believe that I was so upset about this situation.
Yeah.
And it seems crazy, but in the moment, it's so hard to differentiate the emotional being from the logical and rational being, because sometimes we do act on bad faith and bad emotions as opposed to have a logical standpoint to move forward from.
It could also have been a trigger that previously from your past life, right? We also are, what's it called? Remembering a lot of things, okay?
Yeah.
So when we go back or something happens that reminds us of this previous emotional state that we're in, all of a sudden we're back in that emotional state.
Yep. And we developed that coping mechanism or that defense mechanism when we first initially went into that state. I know for me, it happened a lot with my romantic relationships.
Yes.
I remember getting cheated on. I remember walking in on my ex-girlfriends, and then I had a particular cold side to me as a reflection or an emotional response to that. And then moving forward to other relationships, there could have been triggers that weren't them cheating on me, not me walking in on them, but something smaller, but I'd still have the same emotional trigger because at the time, in that state of where I was in my life, that is how I emotionally protected myself. I shut down, I was dick, I was cold, but then moving forward into other relationships and bringing that into other relationships, it caused a lot more stress than I ever needed. And that's just one example. There's so many countless examples, especially from childhood, of where we were going through a situation and our mind, our brain automatically chose one way to defend us from feeling broken, from feeling hurt.
Yes.
And then as we grow older, that no longer works at times. And not only does it no longer work, at times it can cause more stress and more pain.
Yes.
So once again, going back to that, being able to speak with other people and getting an outside perspective of a situation that we have emotional stock in is one of the best things. I love calling you a brother because you always have a different grounded perspective outside of my personal situation.
Yeah. That's how many times have I called you in the same situation?
Yeah.
Right? We kind of go off each other, and I think I called Gianni, called quite a few different people, and we were able to create this network that is helping us to realize that the behavior that we may be exhibiting now was useful at one point in our lives. Okay, it created the circumstance that brought us to here, but is it going to get us to the next level? And if not, then let's reprogram. Let's change that. It's an NLP technique that they say that every single behavior was useful at one particular time.
Yeah.
Now, is it useful now? No? Okay, then change it. You have the ability to reprogram your mind and your being at any given time. And we can give you the tools for that in this program. Right?
Absolutely.
Being a master NLP practitioner, this is what I do. I'm curious about life. I'm curious about people. I'm curious about how to put things together so that we can better ourselves and better society. And it's one of the passions that I have is helping men become better men.
Yeah. And then a lot of people can look at Excaliburr and be like, oh, that's just another workout program. Oh, that's just another diet plan. Oh, I'm just going to be a bodybuilder on that. But no, there's so much deeper purpose to Excaliburr than just how we look aesthetically. There's so many more avenues that we approach to better ourselves in every aspect of our lives.
For sure. But even in the physical side, we talk about neural adaptation, which is the recruiting of all of the muscle fibers or as many muscle fibers as possible that allows you to be adaptable to any situation that you go into. For example, the program that we've created and we've emulated and lived, I live by this program, has allowed me to be able to do things like go for a 100-kilometer run where I'm 230 pounds. And this is without me ever having run more than 5 miles consistently. And I finished that race. Doing the Death by 5K. Boom. Completing the Man of War Crucible. I was honored to be a graduate of that, but it's an exceptionally difficult task with a 40% dropout rate. And we were able to get that done because of the fact that everything that is in this program translates into life. Because you're working on not only your body and being able to recruit those muscles, but creating the link between your mind and your body that will push you through adversity and allow you to gain control over the environment so that you become king of your own environment.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Of course, at this point, we've gone on a long tangent, long podcast. It's been great discussing these things with you and also bring them back to the forefront of our mind.
Precisely.
So we can see exactly how we've changed and how much we've grown. But it's been an awesome speaking with you today, as it always is.
100%, my brother. Thank you so much for the interview, man. You guys know where to find us. We are on Excaliburr Coaching, on Instagram, on Facebook, TikTok, and Spotify.
Excaliburr with 2 R's.
Yeah, 2 R's. The second R is for relationship. We build relationships with everybody. Well, have a fantastic day, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.